Okay, so we will go ahead and get started. And for those of you all that are just joining us, we are so happy that you're here with us tonight. My name is Lee Fickling. I am the Chief Mom Officer, also the Chief Operating Officer for Children with Diabetes. We are so happy that you all are here with us tonight for our second FAQ for Friends for Life Orlando 2025. I am the mom to not tween, teen twins. Sorry, that's difficult for me to say. Ava and Davis. They are in the Teen 2.0 program. My connection to diabetes is my daughter Ava was diagnosed with diabetes when she was 3. She will be 16 this summer. And I have been with CWD for about the last 2.5 years. I wanted us to be able to introduce ourselves tonight, those of us that are here on the panel. But I thought one thing that we might do that would be fun for all of us as we get ready to get started is to, when we're thinking about superheroes and we're thinking about our theme for Friends for Life this year, is for each one of us to share something that has made us feel like a diabetes superhero with you all tonight. And so I will go ahead and get started with that. What has made me feel like a diabetes superhero is we had my daughter's check in today with her diabetes clinic. It's one of those appointments that I'm always worried about. I'm always anxious about that, not only sort of for the blood work that we'll have done, but just from, the conversations that we have with the clinic staff. And so today, when we were in there, it was an amazing meeting for the first time in over 13 years. They did not change any of her pump settings. And her A1C dropped, not that it matters what numbers are, but her A1C dropped very significantly from the last time that we were there. So I feel like that we sort of are, even though we're in the middle of our teenage years, we are finally sort of getting good news when we're going in for our clinic visit. And that has made me and my daughter both feel like a superhero today. And so with that, I will turn it over to Ashlyn to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ashlyn. I am the Events and Programs Director for Children with Diabetes. So I handle all Friends for Life logistics. And I have been living with type 1 diabetes for almost 10 years this October. And wow, Lee kind of put me on the spot with that question. But I think that the moment in my last 10 years that I felt like a diabetes superhero was when I ran a marathon with type 1 diabetes successfully and completed it. And I'll pass it to Marissa.
Hello, my name is Marissa, and I have lived with type 1 for 35 years this year. It'll actually be 36 years in September. And I am the clinical director. I am a registered nurse and a certified diabetes care and education specialist. And for Friends for Life, I help run the fellows program. I help create the adult program. I help with bringing in speakers and help with the different topics for sessions. And then I help with the medical supplies and the nurses for the youth program. And I will go ahead. Oh, okay. Sorry. My super diabetes moment.
Superhero.
I almost forgot. Okay. So I had a really good one. So there was this little girl. I work part-time in a diabetes clinic here at Cincinnati. And there was a little girl who was diagnosed when she was 2, which is how old I was diagnosed. And she, her family was struggling a bit to get things in a good direction. And I've been wearing pods for the system that I'm using. And I had it on my belly a month or 2 months ago when I went into clinic and saw her. And I showed her, look, it's on my belly. Do you want to wear one? And we put a demo pod on her to see if she could keep it on because she's, 3.5. And so one of the issues was keeping stuff stuck on. Sorry, this is a long story, but she is now wearing the Omnipod system and her A1C has been moving in the direction that we want it to go in, and they're finding success. And that was just a huge, triumph for this family that was really struggling. So, okay, Jen.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen. I've had diabetes for 38 years and have been coming to Friends for Life since 2009, which is, I can't even add up those years. I spend my time with Friends for Life organizing the youth program. So everything related to the programming Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, a little bit on Saturday. That is for children under the age of 17 at the conference. I have my hands in a little bit of all of that. My superhero story or thing. So when I'm not doing work with Friends for Life, I work for an organization called Connected in Motion, and we do retreats, but we also take people into the backcountry and so off the grid and where you're away from like civilization. And in 2019, I was really lucky to guide a group. We had 20 people in two groups, but to hike the Chilkoot Trail in that goes from British Columbia to Alaska. And it was really neat to see that like we could do it as a group of people with diabetes. We could be totally off the grid with pumps and CGMs and needles and whatever we were using, but we could do it. And I think that was really awesome and translates into lots of other parts of my life because if I can do that, I can do anything, I feel like. And I'll toss it over to Kristen.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm the registered dietitian at CWD. I am in charge of all things food, making sure it all shows up at our conference the way that we want it, and making sure that our main meals I figure out the carb counts so that if you have any questions about them, you can come talk to me because we now have a dietitian team that will be available at your meals, to chit chat about the food that you're putting on your plate or to talk about serving sizes. So that is exciting new change for this year. I also was thrown by this diabetes superhero question, but I think my greatest achievement in the last year was having baby number 3 be healthy and go through delivery and do all of that, while being really tightly controlled with diabetes. So that's, I think, my superpower.
We've got a couple more of our team members that are here, but really not here. You may see them on your screen right now, but they're just here to support us in the background. So we are really appreciative of them joining us here in case if we need technical support tonight, and to be able to help us with questions that may come in. One of the things that I wanted to mention before we get started, sort of with the content of our evening tonight, is the fact that we have over 180 volunteers that will be helping us to be able to help, sort of make the magic happen at Friends for Life Orlando. And one of the questions that you may have as a first timer, as a scholarship family, as somebody who has not been participating at our conferences before, is who are these people who will help take care of my kids? And so I wanted to sort of start off that question because I think that that may be a difficult one for us to sort of wrap our heads around. And to let you know that all of the volunteers that we have go through a very safe and secure selection process in terms of being able to apply to become a volunteer at Friends for Life Orlando. It's highly competitive. There are lots of people that want to volunteer, and unfortunately, we don't have a lot of volunteer spots for all of them. So again, it's a competitive process. They are highly dedicated not only to children with diabetes and to your families and to making the magic of Friends for Life happen, but diabetes is very personal to all of them. So it's really important for us to be able to recognize the fact that we have an amazing group of people that will help support you and your family while they're there. We have our staff meetings on Tuesday, and we were talking sort of about the different types of things that happen at Friends for Life. Should I leave my kids in youth programming? Should I take my kids with me to adult programming? And sort of as the chief mom officer for the organization, I just wanted to let you know that your kids will be loved and cared for and very well taken care of whenever they're in those youth programming sessions, whether they are starting off with us from Kitty Cove all the way up to the teen program. And I think one of the other bits of advice that I can offer you is to sort of check yourself and realize that these sessions that we have at Friends for Life are 1 hour. So really, whenever we're thinking about dropping our kids off and having them participate in the youth program sessions, they're really there for an hour. And then once that hour session is over, they're going to be reunited with you, whether that's for a snack break or whether that's for a lunch or whether it's at the end of the day. And so I know for some of you all that may be first timers, it feels awkward. You feel unsure. I know that, in my world, when it comes to Ava's diabetes, I'm absolutely convinced that no one will be able to take care of her diabetes the way that I do. When we started coming to Friends for Life for our very first time, they had just turned old enough to be able to enter the elementary program. And when I dropped them off at the door for the elementary program, I cried. I cried all the way from dropping them off into the opening keynote breakfast and pretty much cried that entire time. I still cry now, all of the sessions, but they absolutely love being with their peers, and they love, the people that have diabetes have green bands. That's how we identify people with diabetes, is with a green wristband. Those that do not but love someone with diabetes have an orange wristband. And so both of my kids, an orange band and a green band, prefer to be with their peers. They prefer to be in youth programming, and not to be with me as their mom and with their dad and all of that. So I just wanted to give you that bit of reassurance as you're thinking about Friends for Life and thinking about those initial setups. So I will have some questions that we have already had submitted to us that I am going to field over to our panel of experts that we have here tonight. And then you all can feel free to be able to type in messages as well, if you have questions that you would like us to be able to address. And as somebody had said earlier, our first FAQ that we did is already recorded and is available for you to be able to look back on. And so this is sort of the more advanced. We're about 1 month out before we all arrive in Orlando together. And so deep diving into what are the things that you need to know right now. So the first question that I am going to ask is going to be to Ashlyn. Can you tell me about the evening social activities?
Yeah, so there's a lot happening during the day at Friends for Life, and I think sometimes we focus on what sessions we are going to attend and what our kids are going to be doing. But the evening really is kind of my favorite time at Friends for Life. So on Wednesday, when we kick everything off with sessions, Wednesday evening we have our exhibit hall grand opening, and that is for everyone in attendance. We will all line up down the hallways of the Coronado, and we will have a grand opening ribbon cutting, and everyone will rush into our amazing superhero themed exhibit hall, and we will have snacks and beverages and things of that nature as well. On Thursday is kind of our highlight of the week, and that is our Friends for Life banquet. So we will get together after the day of sessions in the evening, and we will have dinner together. We will have a program for you all. Our friends at Walgreens will join us, and then we will have music and dancing until about 10 p.m. And in an adjacent room, we will have some Disney friends joining us as well. So very exciting things happening on Thursday night. Friday night, we will have our family movie night, and our movie is always a big surprise. So you have to come to know what movie we are going to play, but it always fits the theme of the week. We will also have our dessert, posters, and poetry with the faculty on Friday evening. And that gives you a really cool opportunity to meet some of our faculty and also meet some medical science people that come from some of our partners at the different insulin pump manufacturers and CGM manufacturers, drug manufacturers, etc. And you can see what the latest research that they are doing is. And you can also have some dessert. And we have added this year some of our youth program participants are going to write some poetry during the week. And if they are comfortable sharing that poetry, we are going to have that on display as well for you to see, which is a really cool opportunity for our kiddos. And then lastly, on Saturday evening, we will have family fun night, which is for all ages. And we will also, and I missed a Friday event, I'll come back to that. And also, we will have our teen dance slash social, where our teens only can get into that space and have some fun. I missed my favorite event on Friday night, and that's the Adults with Diabetes and Significant Others social. So, those of us that wear a green band and are over the age of 18, or are the significant other of someone that wears a green band and is over the age of 18, we get together and we have karaoke, and we have a bar, and we have snacks, and it's a really fun time on Friday night. So, if you are a green band adult or significant other, don't miss out on that either. And I think
Yeah.
that's everything.
I
Perfect.
was just going to add one quick comment about the poster event. I think this is really great because, a lot of people that come to Friends for Life, a lot of us living with diabetes for a long time, like we really become diabetes experts in our own way. And what the poster event allows is you to see the posters that are being presented to your diabetes team when they attend diabetes conferences. So these are posters that are presented at the American Diabetes Association conference and things like that. And we want you as people living with diabetes and people who love people with diabetes to have access to the latest research as well.
So thanks for that, Ashlyn and Marissa. Kristen, this question is coming to you, our registered dietitian. This comes from our audience members. What do meals look like in terms of what kind of meals should I plan on making while being there, and what meals are provided as part of the conference? And before you get started, can I just give one mom tip? I had mentioned this in the Facebook page a couple of maybe last week. All the days are sort of merging together as we're getting closer and closer to Orlando. One of the tips that I have is that I pre-order groceries to be able to come to Orlando. I use a company called Garden Grocer just because that's the company that I've been using since my very first Friends for Life. They had a sort of a preferred relationship with Disney back in the day, many, many years ago. But you can do DoorDash, you can do Amazon, Instacart, Publix delivery, Walmart delivery, all sorts of different delivery fees. But I will order groceries in advance to be able to have those delivered once we arrive. There is a $6 delivery fee from Bell Services to your room. So just keep in mind that if you do want Bell Services to be able to deliver your groceries, which I prefer to do because I don't like to schlep them in the hot Florida heat over to my room. But the things that I order typically to have in my room, I like Diet Cokes. So I like to order a case of Diet Cokes. I order a case of water. I order things like chocolate milk boxes or juice boxes for my room. A lot of times, we're traveling from North Carolina. If we're flying and we're limited on space, I will even order like toiletry items, big bottles of shampoo or body wash for us to be able to have in the room. So we do a lot of sort of that pre-ordering. So my kids will be able to have sort of a quick snack during the day if they happen to go back to the room, or at night once conference programming is over. But then I'm going to turn it over to Kristen so she can tell you a little bit more about what the actual meals are, when it comes to conference provided food.
Hi, so that's a great question. And we are planning to have the full menu for you available on our webpage to be able to look at, and that's to come. But just so when we start, so we're starting on Wednesday, and the first food event is going to be a PM break. So that's going to be after in between the third and the fourth session. And then after that, we are going to have our grand opening reception. And that's a lot of words to say that it's when our I think I muted myself. When our exhibit opens, that we will have the ability to walk around the expo and eat and enjoy, but it's going to be little snackies. It's not going to be a full dinner. So if your family needs to eat dinner beforehand, please plan accordingly. After that is going to be Thursday morning. We start our day with breakfast. We have a snack break in the morning that is just beverages, so a filling up of a coffee. Next, we would have lunch. After that is going to be a Thursday PM snack break, and that's in between the third and the fourth session again. And then on Thursday, we have our banquet. That's where if you feel like dressing up, I'm sure this is a topic that we are going to talk about after I finish. That's going to be your night. That's a full, delicious meal. All of the food listed is going to be listed for you, so you can plan if your kid really hates what is going to be there, or if your adult really hates what's going to be there, you can plan accordingly. Then we're going to start our Friday, always with breakfast. Good place to start. We're going to have a beverage AM break. Then it's Friday lunch, and then again, a PM break on Friday. Friday evening events are going to be the family movie night, the dessert with faculty, and the adults event. So those are all going to have nashi food, snack food. So again, if that's enough for you to enjoy your night, then you can plan on eating there. But if you need a full dinner for your family, I would recommend eating before coming. That brings us to Saturday night is going to be a family fun night where it is there a theme? Do I know of a theme?
Family fun.
Okay, so it's gonna have carnival-y snacks. Again, recommend getting dinner beforehand. The teen social is that night, so your teens will also have snacks as they hang out, and we conclude our conference with a Sunday breakfast. And there will be mimosas at this Sunday breakfast, so just plan accordingly.
I think
So
one of the
I
great
wanted,
things that I love, Kristen, that we've done is to be able to pre-provide out what the meals are. That's something new that we're doing this year, and I love that you are doing that for the families. Coming from a family that has one kid that is neurodiverse, and in terms of sort of worrying about what are the foods that you're going to offer, is there going to be anything that they're going to be able to have? I think that since we are now going to sort of pre-publish what those meals are, that is amazing. And I didn't mean to cut you off whenever you were talking, but one of the things that I wanted to ask was if we have somebody that might need help with carb counting. So when you've talked about these different buffets that we're having or these different snacks, will you be able, you personally, can you come over to be able to help me with the carb counting? Will you have team members that will be there? How will we be able to address the carbs if I'm confused about what I'm
yeah.
eating?
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. So we're going to have a team of dietitians in a little segment of the dining room. We're going to be very obvious. We're all going to wear the same color shirt. And so if you would like to have conversations about carbs, knowing what is in there, talking about serving sizes, that's where you're going to come find us. You can come with a full plate, and I would love to eat dinner with you as we talk about these things. You could come with an empty plate. And if you really want me to walk through the buffet with you, I can do that too. But our team, not just me, our team will help you do that. So don't feel that any question is silly. We're there for any and all things. Which also brings me to allergies. If you have any allergies within your family, I highly, highly, highly recommend you revisit your registration and make sure that all of your dietary concerns are listed in there, because that is a report that I take a look at and provide that information to Disney so that we really know who we need to make individual meals for, or if there's a certain allergy that we need to spend extra close attention to. That being said, we are a nut-free conference. So there is no nuts in any of our foods, which all the way full circle. When Lee first started talking about snacks and bringing snacks into your room, absolutely, please do so. And if you are enjoying snacks that have nuts in them in your room, we would ask that they stay in your room and you give a good hand wash before returning back to the conference, because we have a lot of allergies within our attendee groups that is very intense, airborne. So we just ask that you take that into consideration when coming back to the conference.
Perfect. Thank you, Kristen. The next question that we have that's coming in is for Jen. And Jen, this question is going to be about the water park, but it could also be not only just the water park, but also just in general programming. What should I do if my child does not want to participate? In youth programming. One question again about the water park. What if they don't want to go to the water park on teen day? But just in general, also, what if they don't want to be able to go? And so before you answer that, one thing that I will say, again, sort of swooping in with my big diabetes mom advice with that, one of the things that we have done in my own family is to try to take it session by session. And so it can be overwhelming for you as a parent. It can also be overwhelming for our kids, whenever they're coming into a room, with total strangers that they've never met before, or maybe they happen to see people, like my son has got a ton of friends that I call his associates, that will be there and they're sort of bonded together. And so you may see these kids that have known each other that are sort of growing up in Friends for Life, and your child may say, I don't have any friends and I'm not, joining in. Everybody has a group of friends, but I'm not part of that. And so one of the things that we've always done as parents in my family is to be able to take it one session at a time. So, as I talked about at the very beginning of this, these sessions last for an hour. And so, if for some reason your child happens to feel like, I didn't like it, I didn't like that session, I didn't like that topic that we were talking about, what I would always say during the break or during lunch is to say, let's give it one more time. Just go back and let's try it one more time. And then, if you didn't like the next one, then we'll have another conversation about it at our next break. And usually, once they were able to go back and sort of re-engage, and the topics change and the content change, they're able to sort of re-engage and to be able to continue on participating. But Jen, from a youth programming perspective, what do we do if our child does not want to go to those sessions? And then tell me a little bit more about what do we do if they do not want to participate in Water Park Day on Friday?
Perfect. I'm going to take a little bit of a walk to get to that water park question and start with if you're brand new to Friends for Life, what the youth program looks like. So our youth are all children years of age and under, and they're split into groups. So we have a Kiddie Cove group, which is 0 to 5 years old. Within that, they are split 0 to 2, 3 to 4, and 5 year olds. We then have an elementary group, which is 6, 7, and 8 year olds. This year, brand new, and thanks to feedback from families over the years, we've had the opportunity to actually split our tweens and split our teens. So we now have a tween 1.0 group, which are going to be our 9 and 10 year olds, our tween 2.0, our 11 and 12 year olds. And then similarly with the teens, we have our teen 1.0, our 13 and 14 year olds, and then our teen 2.0, our 15 to 17 year olds. So why that is probably important is to know that the programming your child is participating in is very specific to that age group and has been developed by our leaders who are amazing. They've been working on this program since January, but many of them have been in this role for many, 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 many years. They are working to fine tune their program to make it very, very specific to the age group that it is in their care for that hour. They are also thinking a lot about building relationships and building bonds between the kids from that very first session all the way on Wednesday, all the way through Friday. So, like Lee said, taking it session by session is a great way to look at it. And you will probably find nearly every conference we have some kiddos that are nervous at that first session that don't want to go in. And honestly, by the second or third session, just on Wednesday, they're not wanting to be picked up. And so you can expect that that probably will happen. There's also a lot of variety in the programming. So there is programming that's focused on the arts, on being active, on learning and playing in small groups, on doing icebreakers. There's so many different opportunities to learn and different opportunities to like be engaged in a way that works for your child. The teens are really lucky when they graduate, when our kids graduate into the teen program, they get the opportunity to do what at CWD we call Park Day. And Park Day is an opportunity to head off to a park. This year, our teens are going to Volcano Bay at Universal Studios, and they're heading there with all of their chaperones, with some extra support teams, some extra healthcare provider teams from Friends for Life. They're heading on over there in their groups and they're having a day of fun. This is something that's happened. A water park has happened the last number of years. And so it's something that we're quite familiar with. However, we are this year going to be sending a note out to parents who have children in the teen group to give you the opportunity to opt out of the park day. And why that is important to us is because it means that we don't have to purchase a ticket that we can't get a refund for. So that is something we've never done before. That's going to be new. If you do choose to opt your child out of that program, we will be providing some ideas of things that your child could still do on Friday at the conference. It won't be under the supervision of Friends for Life volunteers, but we'll let you know what sessions are happening that might be interesting to your child. There's a yoga session that is going on during the day. Sports Central is open during the day. There's a variety of sessions that would still be interesting to a teen. So we'll let you know those sessions, and then you can make a plan with your teenager if they do choose not to go. That being said, nearly all the teens go. even if your teen is someone who like doesn't love the water, doesn't want to be in a bathing suit all day, we have a pavilion reserved. We will have like there's a chance to hang out in the shade. You can go on the website with your teen and check out Volcano Bay and see that there's like a lazy river if they want. There's like sun loungers and umbrellas. There's lots of opportunity for them to still have fun with their friends and not be in the water. So know that when you're having these conversations with your teen, but largely the large majority of the teens will choose to go. So just wanted to preface before you get that opportunity to opt out, the reasoning why you're getting that opportunity, but letting you know we expect most of the teens will come.
Perfect. Thanks, Jim. A question that just came in the Teen 2.0 group, this attendee says that she's going to have one green band and one orange band. What type of things should my orange band expect as I am nervous he might be bored? He needs to meet Davis Fickling, who will be in the Teen 2.0 program. It's been interesting for me having a green band and an orange band twins in my house. And I think that sort of over the years, as our attendance at FFL, both at Orlando and the regionals have evolved, honestly, at times, my orange band, Davis, gets more out of Friends for Life than my green band, Ava, has. And so I can remember definitely, Orlando conferences and some of the regional conferences that Davis would be the literal last kid, Orange Band last kid in that youth programming room, almost like wanting to debrief with the volunteers that were in there to be able to ask them, how did the session go? Do you need anything else as, they're sort of cleaning up and taking their break in between sessions. So the Orange Bands are actively involved. I think that, one of the things that we're all very aware of at children with diabetes, certainly the person that has diabetes, it affects them every single day, every moment of their day. But diabetes is really a family condition. And so it affects all of us, whether that's your parents, whether that's the grandparents, the siblings. Last year at Friends for Life, I brought both of my kids, so one orange band, one green band. I also brought two of their friends with them. Both of them were orange bands. And they absolutely loved it. They have no connection to diabetes other than my daughter. And so there were three orange bands in my party last year. And so I think that, one of the unique things that happened last year was sort of the friendships that they form. And, when we talk about Friends for Life, it's not just the parents and the adult attendees that are forming these Friends for Life. I came back during one of the breaks in between the sessions and opened up my hotel room door, and there were probably 15 teens that were sort of hanging out and lounging in my room in between the session. And so that was a combination of green bands and orange bands. And they really do sort of find each other and meet each other where they need to be at the moment. And that certainly is very true for that teen group. So that was a great question that came in. The next question that I am coming in or that I'm getting ready to ask is, do the teens need to bring any extra money to the water park? And are there special items that they need to bring to the park? And so the person that I'm going to have to answer that is Ashlyn. Ashlyn has been to Volcano Bay. She just recently did our site visit over there. She's met with the staff at Universal who's going to be assisting us on that day, and I'll let her be able to answer a little bit more about what that looks like.
So Volcano Bay is amazing. As Jen was saying, I had the opportunity to go spend about half a day there and get a tour and ask all of your burning questions and all of my burning questions. So we are going to feed the kids lunch that day, and that's different to how we've handled the water park in the past. If you've sent a teen to the water park before, we provided them with a gift card and they were responsible for getting their own lunch. This year we will have a lunch buffet in our private pavilion. So you do not need to worry about your child eating lunch. However, they will be meeting to leave the hotel very early. And so you will need to make sure that they have been fed breakfast before you meet up in the designated rooms to head off to the water park. And then know that after you feed them breakfast, which is going to be prior to 7:30 a.m., they will not eat lunch until noon. So if you've got a child that you know is a snacker, either plan to send them with snacks or send them with cash or with a method of payment to purchase snacks. There are stations all over the water park with every kind of snack you could imagine, from just bags of chips to like empanadas and hot dogs. So your child will be able to purchase snacks if you send them with the money to do so. Something else, if you've got a child that is a Diet Coke lover or a Diet Sprite lover like me, they do have reusable mugs at Volcano Bay. So keep that in mind as well if you think your child might want to purchase a refillable mug. We actually will have a Coca-Cola Freestyle machine at our pavilion. And once your parent letter comes out, we'll be able to have more information on the cost of those sorts of things as well. But the Coke Freestyle machine is right at our pavilion. So if you've got a child that you know is going to want Diet Coke, send them with money to buy that reusable, refillable mug, and they will not need to pack a towel. The only other item that I would consider packing is if you have a child with sensory issues or that just does not like to be barefoot. I would consider sending them with water shoes, because shoes that can come off like Crocs or flip-flops will not be allowed onto the water rides, but water shoes are allowed on the water rides. So if you know that your teen is not going to want to walk around the park barefoot all day, then I would make sure that you plan in advance for that. Something that was kind of cool about Volcano Bay, and I think is true for other water parks we've been to as well, is they've got these sprayers that spray at ankle level and keep the pavement cool and keep your feet cool. So you can walk around barefoot and not get hot feet, but some people just don't like to be barefoot. So those would be my suggestions, as well as a waterproof something if your child wants to carry their phone around with them at the water park. I would suggest some sort of waterproof bag.
So one of the things that freaks me out, we'll just be honest here, is the water park day. Before it was a water park day, it used to be a theme park day, and it made me worry so much. I saw that there were a couple of you all that have written into our chat and to our Q&A about having kids that are neurodiverse. My orange band, Davis, has autism and ADHD. And auditory processing disorder. My green band Ava, is the reason why we are affiliated with children with diabetes. And so I always worry about what does Friday look like. I laugh because the first time that they sort of aged up into the teen program, Marissa kept me completely occupied on Friday with sessions that I was presenting as a faculty member. So I didn't spend my day worrying about it. The best advice that I can give you, if you're concerned about what does Friday look like for you, as somebody who is, sending off your kids to this teen program and away, is to know that the volunteers are going to be there with them. So the people that has been with them on Wednesday and Thursday, they have already formed a connection. So the volunteers that are working in the teen program, the nurses that have been in the teen program with them will also be going with them. Members of our Friends for Life support team will be going with them. And we have a way to be able to help them get out of Volcano Bay if they decide that it's not for them. My big worry was about Davis and sort of seeing these big water slides and like in his mind thinking that he could handle those, and climbing up the ladder to be able to get there and then literally freaking out, and not being able to go through with a ride because he became overloaded in terms of sensory issues. And it absolutely happened. It happened when we were at a water park for the very first year. And he was with his sister. They sort of stay in a group together whenever they're there. They stay together in partners. They check back in with the staff that we have that are there, with our volunteers that are there. But it did happen. He encountered a ride that he thought that he felt comfortable with. He climbed up the steps. Felt like he was not able to do it because he reached sensory overload. And so what happened was my daughter went down single rider on her own, and he climbed back down the steps. And then he reunited with her at the bottom. And so, I think that a lot of times whenever I'm thinking about, sort of what are my fears, what are my worries, what are my concerns, and my house specifically, we like to play like sort of this worst case scenario. What is the worst thing that can happen? So the worst thing that can happen is you climb up the steps to go on this ride. You decide that you don't want to go on it, and you decide that you need to get back down. There are ways for them to be able to get back down on the ride, to be able to go back to the pavilion, to hang out, to have a snack, to be able to, sit there in the cool air, and then be able to re-engage whenever they want to. And so not only, at the teen, park day that they're going to have at Volcano Bay, but that sort of stands true for everything else that they're doing. One of the questions that came in into our questions into the chat was about what does the sunflower support look like? So we have a very robust sunflower team. We will have sunflower lanyards that will be available for people whenever they check in, for people that have hidden disabilities, invisible disabilities, or neurodiversity. And so you can choose to sort of self-select to use one of those sunflower lanyards if you want to. We work very closely with Disney and with all of our volunteers in terms of the Sunflower Lanyard Initiative. So that way they are aware that if they see somebody who might be struggling in the hallway and they have on one of those sunflower lanyards, that they should know that they should give them some sort of extra special attention to be able to assist them. We will have a quiet room that will be available during the conference if somebody needs to go and have sort of a sensory break. We also have a dedicated sunflower team in terms of having an individual that will be in each one of the youth programming areas, and then floating sunflower members as well. They will be wearing yellow polos at the conference, and so you'll see that a lot of us have on our different CWD polos tonight. Mine is white. Members of the sunflower team have on yellow ones, and so you'll be able to identify them as well. And so Lauren Salco, who heads our sunflower team, will be reaching out to any of you all who may have indicated on your registration form that you have a need for potential accommodations. And so I think it's really important for you, if you did not already request those accommodations, if you have a child that has an IEP or has a 504 plan for something other than diabetes, go back in and modify your registration. And you can list that in there, list it in terms of, needing potential accommodations. And then Lauren and the Sunflower team will reach out to you to be able to explore those. So those are some great questions that are coming in.
Did you
Can
mention
I
the
just-
sensory bags? Sorry.
Yes, sensory bags will be available at registration. So as you check in, if you have already self-identified as somebody who may be on the spectrum, somebody who is neurodiverse, we will have a sensory bag that will be available for you at check-in at registration. We will also have those in each one of the youth programming areas. And then whenever we have sort of our large social events, we'll have those in that room as well. And so those sensory bags will have things like noise canceling headphones. They'll have little fidgets that will be in there that will be age appropriate to be able to help your child take a break should they need to. And then to help them re-engage. And so I think that, one of the things whenever we're thinking about the Sunflower team and whenever we're thinking about making accommodations for those that are neurodiverse is we want to make our programs as accessible as possible to all individuals who are participating. So it's not our goal really to be able to have, students have participants who have disabilities sort of set out. We want you to be able to fully participate with the support that you might need. And whether that's, through the use of some of those tools that we have in our sensory bags or through the help of one of our Sunflower team members, again, take a break and then sort of re-engage to be able to come back in. And Jen, you had a comment?
Just to also add, whether you're someone who thinks they might want support from the Sunflower team or not, all of our age groups are going to be hosting meet and greets on the Tuesday from 12 till 1. And that's an opportunity for you to be able to meet your Sunflower team member, to see the room that your child is going to be in. Your child can come check out the room, meet some of the leaders. But if that helps ease any anxiety or just helps to people feel more comfortable the next day, please take advantage of that opportunity. It will be in the program. You'll see that listed out, including what rooms those meet and greets will be in.
Yeah, and just to add a comment related to the meet and greets, this year we are using something called Views EMR to help allow the nurses and diabetes care and education specialists monitor your kiddos' CGMs during the conference. And we will be sending out emails with an individualized link for you to sign up. This system works with Dexcom Clarity. So what you'll need is a Clarity login. Unfortunately, that is the only system that they are compatible with at the moment. They are working to get compatible with all CGMs program systems. But we will be having people set up, including myself, on Tuesday all day and at the meet and greets to help get you all set up on the system if we're not able to do it ahead of time. But the goal is to try to get everyone logged in before Wednesday morning when the youth program starts. So please, please check those emails, read those parent letters that go out, and reach out to us if you have any questions about that.
Okay, perfect. So the next question, I'm going to turn this one over to maybe a combo meal of Ashlyn and Jen, and maybe Marissa also. The question is, would you mind talking a little bit more about what is expected for the young adults with type 1? And so we'll start with Ashlyn on that one.
So I guess now former young adult with type 1 diabetes. So I began my journey at Friends for Life at the age of 20 as a young adult. So my experience is both personal and in my job. We have done a really good job over the last decade or so of building our young adult program to be what it is today. We will have programming that is designed specifically for young adults. And it may be anything from an open discussion to just talk about diabetes or navigating health insurance or navigating college as a young adult. And so, educational programming, you will be able to go into our app and you will be able to tap young adult, and it will show you all the sessions that are designed for you, that would fit for you. In addition to that, we also have two wonderful young adult leaders that have set up a whole schedule full of meetups. And so we have a sponsored meetup where a special guest is going to join. We've got some meetups that take place throughout the week, whether it's breakfast or drinks at Dahlia. There are quite a few different meetups that will happen through the week. Additionally, that adults and significant others event always draws a lot of young adults, and all of you can kind of join up in one corner of the room and have a great time together. And Marissa, do you have anything to add as a person with diabetes?
Well, I was just going to say that we have the young adult sessions like all in one room this year. And I think what I would really say is I would just encourage you, if you are a young adult, to, put yourself out there, say hello to people. You never know what you're going to have in common with folks. But I am pretty excited about some of the stuff we have going on this year. There's a group coming called Vasoterapia, and they have these cards that are called Vaso Lleno, which means glass full in Spanish. They were developed by a diabetes psychologist and someone that has diabetes that's a graphic designer. And they are basically questions about diabetes that kind of prompt discussions. And they're going to do that in one of the young adult sessions, because sometimes icebreakers are kind of hard. It's hard to get into things. And the questions are really great and the cards look fun and, really get you sort of reflecting about your own diabetes experience. So also the Friday night event is so fun. Please come. You don't have to sing karaoke. I stand in the crowd and I sing without the microphone, and it's a blast.
So one of the questions that this one I'm going to send to you, Jen, and it just vanished from the question panel, but I remember what it said. It talked about that they attended last year, and for a variety of reasons, they ended up missing part of the sessions. They felt like it was a little bit slow to get started, and then because they were sick or whatever the issue was, they missed a couple of other things. And they were specifically talking about the tween program. And so the question was, can you tell us a little bit more about what tween programming looks like and how do we keep these tweens engaged in terms of wanting them to be able to come back session after session?
For sure. I think one of the major things that will help this year is that we've split this age group up to 9 and 10 and 11 and 12. Last year, we had over 200 9 to 12-year-olds in one room. And although the content will be similar, we feel that it will be more engaging because we're going to be able to be working in small groups. But as examples, our tweens will be split out into small groups or pods, and all of their sessions are built to be very engaging. So when we're talking about educational content that's happening, we're following an educational curriculum. So there are goals that we have for each age group that are appropriate. So they might have a specific goal around nutrition, but the tweens are not going to like listen to a slideshow or a presentation as the adults would about nutrition. They might be playing a fun game where they're doing a relay contest to like build the perfect plate with a certain number of carbs on it. And that will be, this kind of goes back to one of the previous questions about orange and green bracelets, engaging for both orange and green bracelets, because it won't be all about diabetes. If we're using that nutrition activity as an example, it'll be facilitated in a way where we're looking at healthy eating choices in general. And there might be a little bit of like, there'll be a little bit of information given, but a lot of play and a lot of engagement. And we definitely would love your feedback after this year as well. This is our first time that we're splitting these ages out, and we're really excited that that means that 9-year-olds are only with 10-year-olds and 11 only with 12-year-olds. We think it'll make a huge difference. But please, this change happened because of your feedback, so please continue to give it after the conference when you get your conference survey.
Yeah, and then I just want to add, one of the things that we do specifically for youth with orange bands is we want to provide a safe space for them to talk about how diabetes has affected their life. And I'll give a great personal example. So my sister 1 year, because I attended as a teen, said that I used to pretend to be low to get out of doing chores, and honestly, probably did, wouldn't put it past my teenage self. So sorry, Catherine. Um, but it's important for them to have the space to have those conversations. And what we do is we typically have either someone that is also an orange band that either is a sibling of someone with diabetes, or a child, or a partner, or something like that. And then we try to have a diabetes psychologist or a social worker present as well, in case any significant issues do arise that we want to make sure we're addressing. And if there are things that we are concerned about with any of your kids, we will reach out to you, just in case there's concerning behaviors that we want to make sure you're aware of. And these are also targeted for children of people with type 1 diabetes. So like, my kids go, they're orange bands, they also love it. And they get to talk about, what it's like to have a mom with diabetes. So it's a really good opportunity for everyone involved in the family.
Perfect. Thank you all. Okay, the next question that came in is, do I have to wear a superhero costume? So that is a great question that came in. And the answer is no. I personally do not even have my costume yet. And I think that there are multiple people on this screen right now that also do not have their costume. I think one of the great things whenever we think about Friends for Life, which Sasha, you can see just her name, Sasha Squibb, but you don't see her actual face, is that she provides, sort of this overarching theme for all of us to be able to help us stay focused on the week ahead. It's amazingly fun in terms of thinking about what the theme is. This year, our theme is superheroes. One of the favorite parts that I like about working with Sasha is that our sponsors work so closely with her and are so deeply engaged in the themes that she picks. So whenever we talk about, whenever Jen and Ashlyn and Marissa were talking about the opening of the exhibit hall on Wednesday night, that's a really exciting moment. It's a very giant moment in terms of sensory overload, because we have about 2,000 people who are running into the exhibit hall all at the same time. But I love the fact that our sponsors are so engaged with the themes that we have. So they are totally locked in terms of superheroes. So whenever we think about what you'll see in the exhibit hall, likely what a lot of our faculty members will do, you're going to see sort of the superhero theming throughout the week when we're there together in Orlando. That could look like a superhero t-shirt that you might be wearing, or some superhero socks, or some fun superhero earrings, or a cape that you're wearing. Or it could be a full-on Marvel costume, that you're going to wear to the banquet. So I think that in terms of thinking about what you're going to wear and what you're going to pack, our best advice would be for you to be able to pack jackets, pack a sweater for you to be able to wear because the conference spaces do get cold. As Marissa just put into the chat just now, thinking about how hot it is in terms of the banquet, whenever we're thinking about 2,000 people in the same room. There was a year that Ava and I were both inflatable dinosaurs for a safari year, and we had to deflate our dinosaurs basically the second that we walked into the banquet space because there just wasn't enough enough room. Sasha is also saying that you will regret pleather. A couple of years ago, we had a when our theme was space, we wore outfits that made us look like baked potatoes. We literally baked our bodies inside of these silver outfits that we had on. So again, just sort of thinking about the costumes that you choose and the space that we're in. There will be dancing that will be involved, and so dressing sort of smartly for that space. Um, we're almost about out of time. We've got about 5 minutes left. And so, with the 5 minutes, I think we've about answered all of the questions that have come in so far. So, what I would like to do is now to sort of do a roundabout with our panelists that we have here and ask them what is the one piece of advice that you would give to people who are coming to Friends for Life Orlando? Those could be first timers, those could be many timers, but if there is one piece of advice that you could offer to them, what would that piece of advice be? And so, my piece of advice that I would offer to you is to take lots of pictures. I think that, one of the things that I do, everyone that knows me knows that I sit around and I take a lot of selfies. But sometimes when I'm so locked in and when I'm so engaged in the content of everything, we'll go through an entire weekend or entire conference and I'll have like 3 pictures. So I would encourage you while you're there to be able to take pictures of it so that way you're able to remember this experience. Once you get home, you can make it into a booklet, you can print the pictures out. But again, take pictures because when you're having sort of the hardest days of diabetes, this conference is going to be able to get you through those hard times to be able to remember sort of the best times that you experience with the people in Orlando. And so I will pass it over to Ashlyn for her piece of advice.
My biggest piece of advice would be don't overcomplicate it. Don't get yourself so worked up over all of the planning and the theming and the costumes and what are you going to eat and what's your kid going to do. Just come open-minded into the week because no matter how you approach the week, whether you are somebody that wants to attend every single thing, doesn't miss a session, doesn't miss a social event, doesn't miss a meetup, or if you're someone that needs to take breaks because your social battery is low or because it's a lot emotionally, you are going to benefit from this week. And I remember my first FFL at 20 years old. I was just diagnosed about 6 months prior. I, being the person that I am, my colleagues know this about me, I overcomplicated it. And I spent a lot of time stressing myself out over the details of the week. And then I just showed up and everything fell into place and I found these amazing people and this amazing community. It doesn't have to be complicated. Show up just as you are and you will find your people at Friends for Life. Marissa?
Yeah, I think, similar to Ashlyn, what I would say is, come open-minded, come willing to be vulnerable, willing to share your stories and your feelings and let yourself feel all the feels. Like Lee said, there are a lot of tears, there are a lot of laughs. It's an emotional roller coaster and it's very therapeutic. I mean, odds are someone at this conference has been through something similar to you and, this will be an opportunity for you to find your people so that you can keep on keeping on. This is a marathon, not a sprint, and we all got to keep doing it. So I encourage you to share your stories, share your feelings. And Jen.
My advice is for all of the parents out there who are dropping a kid off in the youth program to enjoy your time that you've got while those kids are in the care of the best diabetes experts they'll ever have. Like Lee mentioned before, there's over 180 volunteers that are coming, and they have such a great connection to diabetes. Your kids are going to be in awesome care, and like take a breath and grab a coffee and enjoy it because we got them.
I think that's so funny because it had been I told you all my superhero story of the day about the visit that we had at the clinic this morning. It had been quite a while since we had been to the clinic, and they asked me the question of, why has it been so long since you've been able to come in here? And the answer why it has been so long since we've been seen in the clinic is because we've been surrounded by our Friends for Life. So we've been surrounded by, the faculty that are Friends for Life, the volunteers, the HCPs that work at Friends for Life that have been able to assist us along the way, that have helped us with all of our diabetes struggles that we've had. And so there really hasn't been a reason other than sort of going in for blood work, for us to be able to be seen in the clinic. And so I think it's important, like Jen said, to really take advantage of that, parents. While you're there, your kids are going to make friends, as we've talked about before, like Davis and his associates sort of, bombarding my room during their breaks. Find different people to be able to sit with at lunch. Go talk to the faculty members that Marissa has brought to this conference, because these are truly the world's best experts in terms of diabetes, and they want to talk to you. They want to be there with you for the week. They want to be able to talk to you about food and about pumps and, sort of the way that you manage diabetes and, what's ahead and what's behind you. So really use that as an opportunity for you to be able to sort of step outside of your comfort zone. Kristen, what advice do you have? I see your beautiful picture, but I'm not sure if you're still here or not. You might have stepped away.
She might be being mom.
She might be working with her baby, which is totally fine. Sasha, don't turn on your camera because I know you're behind the scenes, but do you have any advice for the people? Okay, Kristen and Sasha, neither one of them have advice for us. So that is totally fine. What I would like to say is, as we get ready to close out our night with you here tonight, if you have any questions about Friends for Life, questions about diabetes, questions about, sort of your existence where you are right now, whether that's relates to Friends for Life or not, please send us a message to conference@childrenwithdiabetes.com. We will be able to respond back to you, to be able to help you sort of prepare and think about what's ahead. The best place and the best source of information for you to be able to find out about what's happening in terms of the conference is to be able to follow us on our Friends for Life Orlando Facebook page. I remember sort of on our very first Friends for Life, getting to Orlando, not knowing anyone, having these 5-year-olds or 6-year-olds that were with me. And what I needed the most was somebody to be able to go and do a liquor store run for me. I had no car. How was I going to be able to sort of have adult beverages while I was there? And so we put out a message onto the Facebook page, and within probably 5 minutes, there were multiple people that were saying, we're going to go do a run to the grocery store. We're going to go do a run to Target. We're going to go to Walmart. So again, that is really your best place for you to be able to sort of seek out information in real time. There will be emails that will be coming out from Children with Diabetes between now and the week of the conference. There'll be parent letters that will be coming out. There will be letters from our sponsors that will be coming out, additional information about the conference through your email that you used whenever you registered for Friends for Life. And if you need to, as I said before, if you need to go back in and you need to modify your registration to be able to talk about food allergies, food restrictions, any sort of accommodation needs that you or your family might need, now is the time for you to be able to do that as we're working on our last minute plans. And we are so glad that you joined us here tonight, to spend a little bit of time with us. We know that you all are superheroes, and we cannot wait to be able to see you in about 1 month in Orlando. This video recording will be available, as Sasha just put. She's put the link to our Facebook page over in the chat. And once this video is available, she will post that out as well. So thank you to all of our panelists for spending your time with us tonight. And thank you to all of you that are attending with us tonight. We cannot wait to see you in Orlando soon. And hang in there until we're able to get together. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.